Hello, how are you? When I said that the CNN interview of Kamala Harris really didn't have any substance, no policies that I could really sink my teeth into, it was really not much to review there. So I opted not to review the interview, but I just wanted to focus on a couple of sections of this interview so you know exactly what I'm talking about. All right, I'm going to focus on a couple of questions that she was asked and how she answered the question and how the answers are not policy. They aren't something that we can hang our hat on and say, this is what she wants to do. And we can't even decide whether or not her policies are good or bad because she doesn't go into detail about them. So I'm just going to show you the first question that she was asked and how long she took to answer this question. And afterwards, we're going to go through her question, and I want to know what do you think? Did you learn anything from her answer or not? So I'm going to time how long she takes to answer this question. So I'm going to start the video now, and I'm going to press the button at the same time. Okay.
If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward. In a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
Okay, let me stop that. We're at 1 minute and 44 seconds, and I didn't hear much substance there. The only thing of substance that I heard was to advance or expand the child tax credit to $6,000. So after listening to her answer for 1 minute and 44 seconds, we really don't have a policy that she's going to put forth. And this is a very good question. What are you going to do on day one? So she's going to pass or expand the child tax credit on day one. Is that going to happen on day one? No, it's not, because that is something that has to go through Congress and has to be voted on and debated on and things like that. It's not something that you're going to do on day one. Okay. Also, she talks about this opportunity economy as if we should know what she's talking about when she says opportunity economy. I've never heard of that phrase. I can't find anything on her website. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong place, but it's not common knowledge what she's talking about when she says opportunity economy, but she presents it as if this is something that she's already done. Okay, let's just listen to it again. Let me see. Turn the sound on, that will help.
The aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people. I think that...
Okay, like for the first minute or so, she just talks about soaring rhetoric about the American people, and then she gets into Trump, and his administration, and she doesn't talk about what she's going to do. So Dana Bash, redirects her. Okay, right here.
Ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day one?
What would you do?
It's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard.
Now, what are the proposals in that regard? What is the opportunity economy? I don't know. This is your time, Kamala Harris, to let Americans know what the opportunity economy means and how is it going to impact us. Okay? You haven't had an interview this whole time. Since you became the nominee, you have not had an interview. This is your opportunity to tell us, what is the opportunity economy? How is it going to benefit us? Go into detail. She doesn't do that, so it leaves us with nothing. Okay?
I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to...
What are you going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods?
Invest in America's small business.
How are you going to invest in America's small businesses when we see businesses closing right now? There's a myriad of companies that are going out of business, are closing their stores because of the economy.
Major retail chains like Macy's and CVS are being forced to close thousands of their brick and mortar stores across the country.
Kelly O'Grady is giving us a closer look at what may be the cause.
This is not a small matter. This is going to change communities.
Well, over 3,400 retail stores are closing this year. That is a 22% increase compared to last year at this time. And Hollywood's iconic Arby's is closing after 55 years. The owners say in part thanks to California's $20 minimum wage law, while others are citing inflation as the cause.
Drugstores are not going to be there anymore. Restaurants are not going to be there anymore. So this is consequential, not only financially and from a real estate standpoint, but it's consequential in quality of life, availability of services.
Now, the top closures include Family Dollar at over 600 stores, followed by Route 21, 99 cents only stores, CVS, 7-Eleven, and more.
So tell us now, what are you going to do about that?
This is what we're going to do to invest in families. For example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life, to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib.
Now that's important, but what if you don't have newborn children? What if you're not intending to have any children? How do you benefit from this opportunity economy? I don't know. I have no way of knowing. So people who are going to have children can hope to get a $6,000 tax credit some point in the future, because like I said, this has to be legislated. It's not something that the president can do with an executive order. What are you going to do on day one? Nothing. That's what I get. Nothing.
There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now.
Now, yeah, it is a big issue in this country. Affordable housing is a big issue. Ms. Harris, the state that you are from, California, has over 200,000 people that are homeless.
We're here today because last fall my office convened a roundtable discussion on the state of California's homeless children, which included state departments, advocates, and stakeholders. During those discussions, we found out that roughly 200,000 children are considered homeless in California.
So, and this is under your administration. You're the vice president right now, and this is the administration that you were elected into. So what have you guys done in the last 3.5 years to implement some of these things that are supposed to be our opportunity economy? What have you done? What is there to make us think that anything is going to change now that hasn't changed in the last 3.5 years? I don't know.
So there are a number of things on day one.
One of your
There's a number of things, but there's really nothing. As far as I'm concerned, you may differ. You might like what she said. I don't see anything there. If she was in a debate setting and she had 90 minutes to give her answer, she went 90 seconds or 60 seconds sometimes in these debates to give an answer to the question, what are you going to do on day one? and she gave this answer, we would be all like, okay, she didn't say anything. If Dana Bash didn't redirect her, she would still be rambling about Trump. That's how I see it. Okay, let's go on to the next question that I had an issue with. Here we go.
One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world.
Okay. She's considering the state that we're in right now with prices that are record high. She is considering this recovery. And she's trying to paint the picture that it was worse when Trump was president, that they had to recover from Trump's presidency, when everybody knows, whether you are a Trump supporter or not, everybody knows that prices were less under Trump. Gas prices was less. Now, let me just go through some of the things that were less if you didn't know. Okay, since Kamala has become vice president, the average family is paying $28 more on energy every month. Okay, the average American pays $240 more on rent since Kamala took office. The cost of a typical mortgage has doubled. In some places, it has tripled, which makes the American dream of owning a home out of reach for so many Americans. Come on, we know this. Interest rates, if you were in the market to buy a house, or if you've bought a house, or if you know anything about real estate, interest rates are very important. During the Trump administration, the interest rates were around 3%. Some people were getting interest rates in 2.9%. Nobody was going over 3.5%. Now the interest rate is 7%, over 7%. And that's if you have good credit. You can get 7% now. That is adding an astronomical cost to the price that you will be paying every month for a home. Okay? This is crazy. Cereal is up 26%. Bread is up 24%. Baby formula is up 30%. Butter is up 37%. Flour is up 38%. Eggs, 46%. Car insurance is up 55%. This is what she considers recovered, right? It was not broken before you broke it. Now you're saying that you've done all this work. This is what you had to do in the first 3 years of the administration. And this is what you're pointing to. I can go on and on. Credit card debt is up 50%. Americans are using their credit cards to buy food. That's not sustainable. Okay? This is what she considers recovered. She considers this recovered. She recovered from COVID, the economy. And the economy was not doing this before she took office. Now, 3 years later, she's saying we did such a heroic job of recovering from Trump's, economy. No. Okay, we're going to go on.
But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it. Which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging. What we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families.
Here we go again with the child tax credit. Are people that have newborn babies the only people that eat in this country? they're the only people that have to buy groceries, and they have another mouth to feed. $600,000 is going to really, I mean, it's going to help. But if prices weren't so high, you know, that $6,000 would go a lot further.
Be able to take care of their children in their most formative years. What we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers.
Okay, now I just spoke about real estate. I just spoke about interest rates. I just talked about you know, if you have a good credit score and all those things. One thing that she's talking about, a $25,000 tax credit if she becomes president, if for people who are first-time home buyers. Now that might sound good to a first-time home buyer who's not in the market, who doesn't understand real estate, but what this is going to do is just going to add another $25,000 to the price of the house. If a person is selling the house and you're a first-time buyer, and you know it's a one-family home, 3-bedroom home, and it was going for $250,000. If I'm selling the house now, it's $275,000 because I know you got a $25,000 tax credit. So what, you think that I don't know that? You know, you think that the people that are selling the houses don't know that? You don't think that the professional real estate brokers don't know that you're getting a $25,000 tax credit? So therefore, you've just raised the price of the average home $25,000 at the government's expense. It's not like the money is free. It's the American people are going to be paying people that are selling homes another $25,000. That's all that is, you know. So it's not going to help and then it's not going to solve the problem of a lack of affordable housing, because if I'm selling a home for that was suitable for a first-time home buyer, and now I have a whole bunch of first-time home buyers who are coming with $25,000, and there's competition for the house that it would not normally be had this $25,000 tax credit been created. There's more demand. When you have more demand for fewer goods, you have inflation. The price of those goods go up. They don't go down. If I have 100 people now trying to buy my house, I'm going to make them compete against each other for my house. I'm going to see who can pay the most for my house that I'm trying to sell. Simple as that. So more demand brings about higher prices. And when you have the interest rates high, you're talking about people spending a lot of money for something that shouldn't cost as much as it does. And then on top of that, you have the American taxpayer having to pay for the $25,000 for first-time home buyers. A person like me who's not a first-time home buyer, why should I be subsidizing first-time home buyers? Nobody subsidized me. So where is my benefit? I'm just going to be paying for them. I don't understand it. She didn't explain it. So that's how I'm seeing it. Okay, let's move on.
So they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Excellent question. Dana Bash, I'm impressed with you right now, asking this question. Even though it hurts you, I can tell it hurts you to ask her these questions. I'm glad you asked her. So let's see what she says about this.
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%.
Okay. Here she is again. We had to recover. Recover from what? Recover from lower gas prices, lower rents, lower food prices. What are you recovering from when you take office? Nothing. She says we've brought the inflation rate down. Let's hear this again.
3%.
Let's hear this again.
Brought inflation down to less than 3%.
Okay, she's talking about the inflation rate. Now, let me just show you this chart. Okay, this is the inflation rate from January 2021, when Biden Harris took office. As you see on this chart, let me go back. As you see on this chart, the inflation rate was 1.4%. 1.4%. And she's here bragging that the inflation rate is down to 3%. Now look at the other end of this graph. This is from April 2024. The inflation rate is 3.4%. It was 1.4% when she took office. It had gone as high as 9.1% 18 months after she took office, not before. So Trump turned over a 1.4% inflation rate to the Biden administration. They ran it up to 9.1%, and now it's down to 3.4%, and she's bragging about that. This is crazy. Let's hear it again.
Has brought inflation down to less than 3%.
Okay, this is the recovery that she's talking about.
And we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%.
Right? She's proud of the work that she's done. She should be saying, I'm not happy with the work that we've done because we've raised the inflation rate, or the inflation rate has gone up from 1.4% when we took office to 3.4% now. Okay? But she's counting on the fact that you haven't seen this chart and you're not keeping track of the inflation rate. You're paying more because of this. But she's counting on the fact that you don't make the connection that things have gotten worse in every sector since she's taken over. Okay, let's move on.
The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now, as I travel in the state of Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors that have benefited. I was in Nevada recently, a grandmother who showed me her receipts. And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars, up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin.
Okay, now that's great. If insulin is $35 now a month, that's beautiful. I mean, that's a great accomplishment if that's what you're hanging your hat on. That's good. But how many people don't take insulin? How many people are on blood pressure medication? How many people are on other medications that are expensive? Do they get a tax break? Do they get their prices on their medication lowered? No. And the price of insulin for all of these years where people were spending thousands of dollars on insulin, it wasn't because of Trump. Because Trump was only part of government for 4 years. So all of these decades that Americans have been paying crazy prices for pharmaceuticals are a result of people like her, the political class in this country, and people like Joe Biden who have been in government for 50 years. They are the ones that are responsible for Americans spending thousands and thousands of dollars on their medications. The same companies that produce medication for other countries around the world produce our medication, and these are American-based companies, and they charge more to Americans than they charge for most of the countries in the world. That's why you had Americans going to Canada to buy medication, because it was cheaper there. And it's the same company that makes the same medication that companies that are headquartered in the United States that are charging the American people 10, 20, 30, 50 times more than they charge other countries, because other countries are not as corrupt as our country is, and they don't have politicians that'll sell them out as quick as our politicians will. So for her to take credit for insulin being $35 now, she has to also admit the fact that Joe Biden and the political class that she represents are the reason why pharmaceuticals are so high in this country. They accept exorbitant amounts of money from these pharmaceutical companies, and that's why prices are so high, because they can't tell them no when they say we're going to charge whatever we want. And think about all the money that the government spent during COVID, where they bought all these vaccines, forced everybody to take them, all these tests and stuff that they put out using the American tax dollars. The pharmaceutical companies are probably saying, yeah, well, give them insulin for $35. It's okay. Because we just made billions, probably trillions of dollars from the United States government over the last 3-4 years. So yeah, we can give them a medication that, that people need for $35 a month. And we let them run on that, so, they won't come back to us anymore and ask us to do anything else. Okay, so let's move on.
She's not doing that
So you
anymore.
maintain Bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%.
I don't believe that for a minute. You did not cut child poverty over 50% by giving somebody a tax credit. I don't believe this for a minute that she decreased child poverty by 50%. On the contrary, child poverty probably has gone up since she has become vice president.
Poverty in America by over 50%.
Oh,
when we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs.
Do you believe that child poverty has been decreased by 50% in the last 3.5 years? Do you think that that's the case? Do you think that that's the case? Is this true, what she's saying? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't think a tax credit can do that. I could be wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong. But she goes on to talk about all of these jobs that have been created in the energy sector. So I'm going to listen to that one more time. Then I got something to say about that.
Over 50%. When we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs.
Now, did she create over 800,000 manufacturing jobs, or were the people that are coming back to work people that were forced to not work during COVID? Okay, is there a true increase of 800,000 jobs? Are these the same people that were working prior to COVID now regaining their employment? And also, 2 weeks ago, it was announced that they overestimated the amount of job creation by 800,000 jobs in the last 12 months. So is she incorporating that fact into what she's saying now, that the numbers have been revised, or is she still working off the old numbers? Okay, I'm going to show you a report about the overestimation of job creation.
Welcome back in. A massive revision from the Labor Department shows the U.S. economy created fewer jobs than first reported over a 12-month period.
That correction is in the hundreds of thousands.
It's an abrupt about-face for the U.S. labor market. Newly revised numbers released by the Labor Department Wednesday morning were stunning, showing 818,000 fewer jobs created over the 12 months leading up to March 2024 than previously reported. Data revisions are common, but not to this degree, and Wednesday's correction is the Labor Department's largest downward adjustment since 2009.
Okay. That's a fact. Did they create all these jobs? Are people becoming more employed or less employed. I've seen economists say that the people who have received the jobs, that the bulk of the people who have received jobs during this administration have been illegal immigrants. They are being employed at record numbers, while the American people, citizens, are not enjoying a big increase in employment. Okay, now we're going to move on. I'm gonna go through this real quick.
Bringing business back to America, what we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs, I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work.
What did you do with the supply chain? Could you explain that? You know, you're sitting down for an interview. I don't think there's any constraints on how long you can go because this is pre-recorded. So you can elaborate on these things. You don't have to just gloss over everything. You can elaborate on it. You can do a long form interview if you have substance to justify the length of the interview. Now, I'm going to stop the video right here. I didn't mean for the video to run this long, but I think that it's clear the point that I was trying to make about the substance of this interview. There's really no policy. There's really no substance there. There's not a lot of honesty here. So I'm going to make some other videos because she talks about other things. She talks about energy. She talks about fracking. She talks about immigration. And those things are very important to the American people. Immigration and the economy. She spoke about the economy. There's nothing there. She talks about immigration. There's nothing there either. But I'm going to do a separate video about her immigration policy, or not policy, but her representation of what is going on with immigration. It's nothing there as far as policy is concerned. Nothing's going to change, put it that way. But I'll do that on a different video. So I'm going to leave that here. Thanks once again for stopping by and checking me out. Until next time, as always, peace and stay safe.